939 Bernama Radio 24, 32 minutes after 8 on Spotlight. We speak to Maresa Ng, who happens to be an action coach from Action Coach Business Coaching. Action Coach is a business coaching and consulting company which started in 1993 by entrepreneur and author Brad Sugars. Very good evening to you, Maresa, and welcome to the show.
Hi, good evening.
It's been a long wait for you, huh? You've been waiting for quite a while before you got on the airwaves. Well, there's so much to be learned about business coaches, There was a time when people just learned trial by fire. I started a business, then I got burnt, then I started again, went on, so on and so forth. What is this whole business coaching all about? Does this really mean that if I start a business, there's someone to guide me through?
As a business coach, we do cover several areas, but as a coach, what we do come in three various areas. The first area, of course, is the accountability. Why is that? Is because there are several things that business owners need to be accountable to do in the business in order for them to grow. Yeah, some of the things that they know that they should be doing, but they're not doing.
Right.
The second part, of course, is sometimes business owners need some additional skills. Like some business owners started the business as technicians. They're very, very keen in their skill, but they need to learn sometimes the art of sales and marketing.
Right.
So sometimes the coach comes in to give them more expertise and more skills where it is required. So as a business, what we do with new entrepreneurs and them growing, with a coach on board, you're taking on board more tested best practices by entrepreneurs worldwide. Yeah.
So when you sign on to help somebody build his or her business, what you have to identify the areas in which they need to grow, what are their disadvantages, so on and so forth. Right, so you're more a consultant than a business coach. What's the difference between being a consultant and a business coach?
Okay, that's a very, very good question, Jared. A business consultant would let me just emphasize a bit more on business coach.
Right.
A business coach would ensure we have one very powerful saying, and it is important that instead of giving you a fish so that you eat for a day, we make sure that we give you the art of fishing so you can eat for eternity. You can eat for the rest of your life. So when you work with a business coach, you must be prepared that the learning curve is going to be very, very steep.
Right.
When you work with a coach, we will be asking you plenty of questions, but the questions, of course, will be guiding you in order so that you don't need us again to find the answers for you at a later stage when the same questions come popping up to you. But there are various types of consultants out there, Jared. Yeah. But what I would say is that if you work with a coach, we are not there to just give you answers. Sometimes we will, maybe at the beginning when you begin coaching.
Right.
But when you get to a later stage, the part that we're different is that coaches will empower you to continue taking that growth. That growth phase will continue. And then we start working maybe with your team members.
Right. But if you look at the history of this whole thing, you were a banker. And then you went to business coaching. What made you make that move into business coaching? What attracted you about business coaching?
Yeah, that's fantastic. I get that question all the time. I took on Action Coach. That was a past life for me. Investment banking. Where I came from was I started with investment banking.
Right.
And I was doing a bit of commercial and corporate banking as well, where what I did was I look at funding for companies. So when I first began my career as a banker, I started with smaller companies.
Right.
And we looked at their working capital. I assessed their projected cash flow. I assessed the feasibility of the company. Of course, as bankers, the most important thing is that we wanted to make sure that if we lend you the money, we'll be able to get it back.
Right.
So when I looked at the feasibility of many of these companies, I found that as a banker, there was very little I could do to help them and advise them. And I could see a lot of things that were going not so well for them. And yet, as a banker, it wasn't my role to really, really go in there and help. That's why I decided to step out. And when I was doing all of this research, I considered a lot of different types of consultancies, business consultancies, coaching companies, trainings. But finally, I came across Action Coach. And Action Coach, the reason why I chose this company was because there was a coaching structure. There was a system that could allow me to get results with the business owners and entrepreneurs. A tested program, a methodology that I could use. And of course, this allowed me to be a good coach very, very quickly.
Right.
But what made a great coach, of course, is all the experiences that we take on when we...
And by the way you're speaking, you sound like you have a natural gift for this, hence why you got into this whole field.
Well, it seems so far that it hasn't been too hard being a good coach.
Right.
Because in being a great coach, it takes a lot of learning. It takes a lot of skills, Jared. It's a continuous learning process for us coaches. We have to be very, very conscious that our glass is empty and not full, because if we stop learning, everyone around us literally stops learning as well. And when you say a natural gift, perhaps that natural gift is the gift of humility, where I'm just always wanting to get out there and to find the best ways, fastest ways to keep learning, so that I can continue to value add into the lives of my clients and the people that come on board with me.
Right. If you just joined us, we're currently speaking to Action Coach firm owner and business coach Maresa, and she's here to tell us about this whole industry and what it's about, how they go out there and help people start businesses. Can we go back into history and take a look at the life of Brad Sugars and how he started this whole thing?
Yeah, most certainly. Brad Sugars was a man that started Action Coach at the age of 23 years old, very, very young.
Right.
He began coaching some business owners at the back of his house, and he was just giving some advice and talking to them. And he said one day he consulted his dad, and he said, I want to be able to do this more. I want to be able to coach more business owners. He, of course, built Action Coach. Of course, the reason why he's so successful, now this gentleman did not have to work for another day of his life at the age of 28.
Right.
Yeah. That is because he built a business that he could sell again and again and again. And we call those, it starts with F, franchise.
A franchise, right.
So he built a franchise that he could sell. And of course, because he built this franchise and it's so powerful, in 29 different countries, including China this year, we are operating Action Coach as very successful franchises. This chap is 39 this year, didn't have to work another past 11 years of his life.
Right.
But it's because Action
I like
Coach,
him already.
Yeah, you like I like him too. Because of his ability to have built this business, and we are continuing to live this vision, this purpose of continuously enriching more lives of business owners through business re-education. That's our vision.
Business re-education. Yeah. Let's look at this whole franchise for a moment. Let's say you're talking a lot about methodology, tried and tested methodology. But when it's used in different continents, different countries, there must be a different play of dynamics, simply because the lay and the lie is different, the way people work different, the work culture, work approach is different. So how does Action Coach work with something like this, especially when someone's starting up a business in some other country? Do they have to learn about trends or business trends within the country first? Is there a database as such?
That's a very, very good question, Jared. If I may, that is the reason why if Action Coach actually originated from Australia, and the reason why we are building franchises. So how we do it is that we have master franchisees that control for countries, and the licenses are issued from there. Now, why it is done that way is because business coaching is very much a localized business. You must have every country, every culture has a different way of running the business, and we have different laws, different acts that govern the way we do what we do.
Right.
So naturally, business coaching has to be localized. That is if we look at it from an Action Coach global point of view. But maybe addressing your question from a second perspective, because I think I can understand where you're coming from, because business coaching happens to be a methodology that you think maybe is very general.
Right.
But the coaches, Action Coaches especially, have a very comprehensive methodology of running a very complete due diligence before we begin with any client, any business owner. I'll give you an example.
Right.
One of the workshops that we go through is called an alignment and kickstart.
Alignment and kickstart workshop.
And this
sounds like a boot camp.
Oh, for one day, but we don't boot anyone. But we basically go through a lot of information about the company.
Right.
That's where they share very confidentially with the business coach. But that's where, if the more information we're given, the more we're going to be able to help we establish, of course, the top 3 obstacles that are holding the business owner back. It can be in anything from team, system, the ability to market themselves, or even sell. But what we do is we establish all of this from the alignment and kickstart. So you see, we will get all the information about a business from the beginning, so that we're able to coach the business owner very, very well throughout the entire
Right.
program.
So after ascertaining the business and getting all the information you need about the business, what happens from there? What do you? It is a coaching process. So how does the coaching begin? You've only just developed or the framework you need. Now, how does the coaching begin? With saying, if I'm the boss of the company, how does the coaching begin now?
Okay. If once we take on coaching, the first thing we begin is that one day. So, like I said, we address your top 3 obstacles that, and we will zero it in to become as specific as we can, Jared. Because sometimes in the lives of business owners, I'm not sure if some of you out there who are listening and you're in business, you can have 76 different things that are on your mind at that time. So what we do as business coaches is that we zero it in and become very, very specific on the areas that we need to work with you as quickly as possible, so that in the first 6 months, you will start to see results.
Right.
Yeah. That being said, sometimes when people work with business coaches, they think that it is a very short-lived, quick win sort of a program, whereby we try not to allow you to go in with that belief, where building the business and working the business is more sustainable and is more long-term. So once we establish all of those challenges, coming back to that question, Jared, we begin the coaching program. It's a minimum of 12 months, but we see you once in 2 weeks on a fortnightly basis, consistently, and we build the momentum. You see, working with all these business owners for this long, Jared, one of the things that entrepreneurs lack is the momentum, the habit of working on the business.
Right.
Working
Does
on
it fall back on consistency?
It falls back to consistency, because what we immediately do with these business owners, especially if they're new clients, is that we help them to build a very powerful habit.
Right.
The powerful habit is coming in and having a very clear and focused discussion about the business with the coach, getting out there again with the same momentum, but this time with clarity on how to handle each of the challenges every step of the way.
Right.
You see, Jared, if I may, this is of course trickling a lot into why we're different from a lot of the other players. We're not trainers per se, because as coaches we're very, very concerned, and it's important to us that whatever we teach you, you will be able to apply to your business and yourself to continue getting results. But that's why we're not just interested in giving you the information and we don't quite care what you do with it.
Right.
It's more important to us how you will use the information to get results.
Because there'll be a parting point. It's at some point you guys will have to part, and that person will have to run on his own.
That can be it as well, because what we're saying is that people learn how to fish, and then they can eat fish for every single day, with or without the coach. Naturally, yes, I would agree with you. However, that being said, I believe that every business owner, as long as you're in business, have a coach. Have a coach, because you will naturally grow and get to plateaus, and you need to be challenged. And challenged
at different levels, at different plateaus, you'll be challenged, and you need a coach then
to just keep pushing you.
Hold that thought. We're going to stop for the top 5 news and come back and find out more about Maresa Ng, action coach, firm owner, and business coach, right here on 939 Bernama Radio 24. This is Spotlight. Top 5 news. Dato Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob noted that the diesel price of 1 ringgit 80 still enjoyed a government subsidy of 1 ringgit per litre, because otherwise the price would actually be 2 ringgit 80 per litre without the subsidy. Meanwhile, with regard to the intention of commercial lorry operators to raise their service costs, which would increase the prices of goods, the minister said the government could not prevent them from making such a decision.